If life was fair, I would never have woken up in this body again. But fairness has never been a friend of mine. The first time I saw him standing in the courtroom with fire in his voice and sorrow in his eyes, I knew fate had played one of its cruelest tricks. Caleb Monroe, the Omega I failed to protect in my last life, was alive again in this one. Alive, dazzling, unreachable. And I, Daniel Hayes, once more an alpha burdened with too many sins and one desperate vow. This time, I would not lose him. The city hummed outside the hospital windows, New York's restless pulse keeping me awake in the hours between midnight and dawn. I had been back in this life for only a month, memories of the last clinging to me like the smell of antiseptic after surgery. In that other world, Caleb's career as a lawyer had been shattered by scandal, a setup I was too blind to stop. And in the end, he had died cold, alone, betrayed. I remembered holding his hand as his heartbeat faded, his last words a whisper I never deserved. I just wanted you to believe me. Now fate had spat me back into a younger version of myself. A surgeon fresh out of residency, arrogant, sharp-tongued, still stupid enough to think love was a luxury. Except this time, I carried the weight of every mistake carved into my bones. The cruel twist? Caleb didn't know me. Not yet. Not the way I knew him, his laugh when it cracked halfway into a cough. His habit of chewing on the inside of his cheek when he was nervous, the way his entire being softened when he finally allowed himself to love. I had sworn an oath, long before I even realized I was being reborn. I would change everything. Protect him from the whispers, the betrayals, the loneliness. I would stand in that courtroom beside him, not against him. And yet, fate delights in irony. The first time we crossed paths again, it wasn't in a hospital or in some grand, fated reunion. It was at a coffee shop on Fifth Avenue, where the universe mocked me by making Caleb spill his entire latte across my shirt. "Watch where you're going," he snapped, his tone brisk, his suit immaculate despite the coffee stain now spreading across his sleeve. His eyes flicked up at me, sharp and unyielding, and just like that, my chest burned. He was here, alive, breathing. "I'm sorry," I muttered, though my voice cracked. My hands shook as I took the napkin he offered. He frowned, his brows knitting. "You okay?" No, I wasn't. I was standing in front of the man I loved and lost. My heart split between the ache of the past and the fragile hope of this second chance. "I'm fine," I lied. But in that moment, I made a silent vow. Coffee stains, arguments, chance meetings, I didn't care what form it took. I would stay by his side this time. Caleb Monroe didn't have time for distractions. Being an Omega in the American legal system wasn't a weakness, at least. That's what he told himself every damn day. But it was a constant fight. Clients doubted him. Senior partners undermined him. Alphas sneered at him behind boardroom doors. He had built his armor out of case files and late nights, and he wore it well. So why did the stranger at the coffee shop, the tall alpha with haunted eyes, rattle him so much? Caleb shook his head, focusing on the stack of papers on his desk. He was preparing for the trial of the year, defending an Omega client accused of corporate espionage. It was brutal, political, and dangerous, which meant Caleb had no space for some random doctor who looked at him like he was the only person left in the world. And yet, that look lingered. I should have left him alone. I told myself 100 times that fate had already given me more than I deserved. Caleb alive, safe, untarnished by betrayal. But restraint was never my strong suit. 1 week later, I found myself outside the courthouse, waiting like some lovesick teenager. When he walked past me, his briefcase swinging at his side, I couldn't stop myself. "Mr. Monroe," I called. He froze, turned, those eyes piercing, guarded. "Do I know you?" "Not yet," I said, then cursed under my breath at how ridiculous it sounded. "I mean, I am Daniel Hayes, doctor. We met at the coffee shop." His expression softened for half a second, then hardened again. "Right, the coffee incident. Do you normally stalk people after they ruin your shirt?" "I'm not stalking you," I protested, though, to be fair, I absolutely was. "I just wanted to wish you luck on the case." That startled him. His lips parted, but no sound came. Finally, he said, "How do you know about my case?" I bit down on the truth that in another life, I had watched him fall apart because of it. Instead, I shrugged. Word gets around. Big case. He narrowed his eyes, studied me like he was trying to peel back every layer of my skin. And then, with a curt nod, he walked away. But not before I saw it. A flicker of something in his gaze. Curiosity. New York nights are merciless. The hospital never sleeps. The city never pauses. But every stolen glimpse of Caleb became my oxygen. When he argued in court, his voice steady despite the storm around him, I sat in the back row, my chest swelling with pride. He didn't see me, not really, but I was there. When rumors began to circulate that he was too young, too reckless, too Omega to handle the case, I clenched my fists, remembering the way those whispers had destroyed him before. Not this time. This time I would fight with him. Even if he never forgave me for the sins he didn't know I carried. The first crack in his armor came late one evening. Caleb was leaving the courthouse, exhaustion dragging at his shoulders. His car wouldn't start. His phone was dead. And New York's autumn rain came down in sheets. I was there, umbrella in hand. Too convenient, too much like fate's cruel hand. But I didn't care. "You again," he said, water dripping from his hair. His voice caught between annoyance and relief. "Me again," I admitted. "Need a ride?" He hesitated. The Omega lawyer who trusted no one, especially not alphas. And yet, after a long pause, he nodded. As he slid into the passenger seat of my car, soaked to the bone, I caught the faintest hint of his scent, clean, sharp, threaded with something that made my chest ache. Home. For the first time since I woke in this life, hope flared in me like a heartbeat returning after flatline. Caleb sat in my passenger seat, rain pelting against the windshield, silence pressing between us. He crossed his arms, staring out the window as if the city lights might swallow him whole. I wanted to speak, to tell him everything, the truth of my past life, the nights I failed him, the vows I made at his grave, but words stuck like glass in my throat. Instead, I cleared my voice. "Rough day." He gave a humorless laugh. "Every day's rough when half the courtroom thinks you're a mistake in a suit." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Same poison, same whispers, just as before. But this time I swore they would not break him. "You're not a mistake," I said. "You're the sharpest one in that room. They know it. That's why they come for you." He turned then, studying me with that lawyer's gaze, sharp enough to dissect lies. His lips parted, then pressed into a thin line. He didn't believe me, not yet, but a seed had been planted. The weeks blurred into one another. I became a constant shadow, always at the edges of his battles. Sometimes too close, sometimes forced to hold back, always fighting the urge to tear down the world if it dared to hurt him. When the prosecution twisted facts, I sent Caleb Research Anonymous, subtle that dismantled their argument. When the media smeared his name, I tipped off a journalist I trusted to expose the bias. I was his ghost ally, working behind the scenes, never asking for credit. But Caleb wasn't blind. He noticed the patterns, the mysterious lifelines that appeared whenever he was about to drown. One night, after he won a brutal cross-examination, he found me waiting outside the courthouse. His expression was unreadable. "You're not just a doctor, are you?" he asked quietly. I froze. "You've been helping me. Don't deny it." His eyes, God. Those eyes burned with something between suspicion and gratitude. I should have lied. Should have told him I was nothing more than a bystander. But my chest ached with the need for honesty. "I told you," I said, voice rough. "I believe in you." He inhaled sharply, as if those words cut deeper than I meant. For a moment, the city noise faded. Just us, standing in the quiet storm of things unspoken. Then he stepped back, walls rising again. "Belief doesn't win trials, Dr. Hayes. Evidence does." And he walked away, leaving me with the echo of his retreating footsteps. The trial reached its climax in December, snow draping Manhattan like a fragile lie. Caleb's clienta, young Omega, accused of betraying his alpha boss, sat trembling in court. The jury leaned heavy against them, poisoned by prejudice. Caleb stood alone, every word he spoke a blade thrown against giants. I watched from the back, pulse hammering, because I knew this moment. I had lived it before. In that other life Caleb lost. The verdict destroyed him. He spiraled, drank himself sick, believed the world's lies about his worth. And then, no, not this time. When the prosecution unveiled a surprise witness, a corporate insider who painted Caleb's client as guilty, I recognized the trap instantly. I had seen it before. My stomach turned ice. Caleb fought like hell, but the witness was smooth, convincing. The jury leaned, couldn't breathe. The same ending loomed. And so I broke every rule. During recess, I cornered Caleb in the hallway, grabbed his wrist. Listen to me. That witness lying. He has a financial tie to the prosecution's lead sponsor. Check his records. Caleb's eyes blazed. How the hell do you know that? I couldn't explain reincarnation, couldn't confess my sins. But I could give him the weapon he needed. Just trust me, I begged. Something in my voice must have cracked his defenses. Because for once, he didn't push me away. He nodded, rushed off, demanded a recess extension. And within an hour, he had the evidence clear, undeniable. The witness crumbled. The jury swayed. 2 days later, Caleb's client was acquitted. Victory roared through the courtroom. Reporters shouting, flashbulbs flaring. Caleb stood tall, suit rumpled, eyes wet. For a moment, he looked less like a lawyer and more like a man who had just wrestled the universe itself. And when his gaze found mine across the room, the walls between us cracked. That night, he showed up at my apartment. No words, no explanations, just Caleb, standing in the doorway, snow dusting his hair. You knew, he whispered. I swallowed hard. I guessed. Bullshit. His voice trembled. You knew things no one else could. You've been watching me, protecting me. Why? I closed my eyes. The truth was madness. But I was done with lies. Because I lost you once, I said. And I won't lose you again. Silence stretched. My heart pounded like a drum of war. And then he stepped closer, so close I could feel his breath. You talk like we've lived a lifetime already. We have, I murmured. Something broke in him then. Maybe disbelief, maybe resistance. Because he leaned forward, forehead against mine, his body trembling. God, Daniel, he whispered. You make no sense. Neither does fate, I breathed. But I swear to you, Caleb, I'll never let them break you again. And when his lips finally met mine, it wasn't gentle. It was desperate, fierce, like two souls clawing back from the grave. The days that followed were fragile, luminous. Caleb fought me at every turn, his instincts telling him alphas couldn't be trusted. His past carved with scars I had once been too blind to see. But slowly, piece by piece, we built something new. Nights in my apartment, him sprawled across the couch with case files. Me cooking badly just to make him laugh. Mornings with his scent lingering in my sheets. Soft and unspoken promises filling the silence. For the first time in 2 lives, I let myself believe we could win. But fate does not surrender easily. It struck on a cold January night. Caleb was leaving the firm, briefcase in hand, when a group of masked men cornered him in the parking garage. Paid thug sent by those who lost millions because of his victory. I got the call while scrubbing into surgery. My phone buzzed with a single message. Your Omega won't last long. My blood ran ice. I tore off my gloves, left the OR, ran like hell through snow and darkness. By the time I reached the garage, Caleb was cornered against a wall, one of the men raising a metal pipe. I didn't think. I launched myself at them, fury and fear exploding in my chest. The fight was brutal, messy. My fists split, ribs screamed. But I didn't stop until they fled, leaving me heaving in the silence. Caleb stared at me, trembling. You're insane, he whispered. You're alive? I gasped, collapsing to my knees. And then he was there, arms around me, holding me as if the world itself had finally broken open. The aftermath was messy police reports, hospital visits, endless questions. But through it all, Caleb never left my side. One night, bandages tight around my ribs, I looked at him across my bed. "You don't have to stay." His eyes softened, breaking through years of walls. "Daniel, you think I don't see it? The way you fought for me? Maybe I don't understand how you know what you know. Maybe I never will. But for the first time in years, I feel safe. Not because I can fight alone, but because someone's fighting with me." He reached for my hand, fingers threading through mine. "I'm not leaving. Not in this life. Not ever." Tears blurred my vision. In 2 lifetimes, I had never heard sweeter words. Spring bloomed across New York, the city thawing after its long winter. The trial was long behind us. The threats had quieted, and for once, the future didn't feel like a battlefield. One Sunday morning, sunlight spilling through the window, Caleb stirred beside me. His hair was a mess, his tie abandoned on the nightstand. He blinked blearily, then smiled small, real, the kind of smile he'd always hidden from the world. "What?" he asked, catching me staring. "Nothing," I murmured, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Just thinking how lucky I am." He snorted, rolling his eyes. "You? Lucky? You nearly got killed twice because of me." "I'd do it again," I said softly. 1,000 times. He froze, then leaned in, pressing his lips to mine with a tenderness that stole my breath. When we parted, his voice was barely a whisper. "Then I guess we're both lucky." And in that moment, in the warmth of morning light, I knew the vow I had carried through death itself had finally been fulfilled. I had found him again, and this time I would never let go. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.